Alright, y'all, what's up? It's your boy. I'm gonna hold my gun sideways on this one. You know, I'm low fi with it. Let's try something a little different, okay? Everything, everywhere, all at once. See, I'm looking at this computer right now. It's telling me with 3 acting wins. By the way, this is a tweet from some guy named Kyle Buchanan. I don't know who that is. With 3 acting wins, plus Best Director and Best Picture, Everything Everywhere All at Once has now won more above the line Oscars than any movie ever in the 95 years they've thrown this show. Do you care? I'm like, so the fuck what? It's still a shit film. Who cares? Are you gonna act like this shit matters? Listen, this is the era of meaningless accolades, man. It hasn't gotten like accolades haven't meant much, you know. I'm gonna throw it back to Stephanie Mills on this one, and even Shaka Khan has said this like in a Vlad TV interview when I remember the interviewer was like, "And you got this Grammy, you got this accolade," and they were like, "I don't give a fuck." Like, real artists don't do it for that stuff, honestly. Now, to be fair, I'm not knocking people being happy at winning the Oscars. I think it's a great achievement. I'm not trying to knock anybody's win necessarily because there's real, rewards that come from that. Obviously, it's the judgment of your peers, but really what it is like it's a big financial boost. It can be a big financial boost for you because now you've won an Oscar. You're kind of put ahead of the pack, quote unquote. And so you can command more money. So there's actual monetary benefits, hopefully, that come from winning the Oscars and clout benefits. So I get all that. You know what I'm saying? That's probably why this stuff is obviously important. But in the grand scheme of things, like, who cares? And especially knowing how these accolades and the clout works, and we know how campaigned they are, and we know how much money is thrown into getting them. Well, most people might not know, but people who are in the business or around the business have an idea. So it's not as meaningful as you might think, although the results and the outcomes can obviously have real benefits. Okay. So the long story short is that because Everything All at Once has this meaningless stat of winning above the line awards, it doesn't make it a better movie. And in fact, I don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how many awards The Godfather won. I don't know how many awards Gladiator won. I don't care. We don't care. Nobody, in the grand scheme of things, no one cares, okay? What you care about is whether or not you love this movie and this movie meant something to you and it sticks with you and it sticks with a generation of people. That's what matters. And Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to go the Parasite route. It's going to age even faster than Parasite, which I personally didn't care for, but this is like, it's going to age like fucking milk. Okay? It's hype. It's here today, gone tomorrow type shit. I said this before. I stand by it. Anyway, now, people, a couple of things I think I've always really interesting. People say, "Oh, look at Everything All at Once. It won no promotion." Okay, this is actually a really interesting one to me because of 2 things. One is people that really believe the Oscars, you can win Oscars with no promotion, are very naive. But again, I don't blame them because this is not something that people are taught how it works. Okay, Oscars are campaigned for. There's millions of dollars spent on this stuff. Even like people who are entering the business even don't necessarily know the full extent of how it works. So I can understand someone who's a layperson not even having a clue that this stuff is campaigned and there's real money spent on the stuff. You know how I know? Because I'm somebody who's entering the business, number one. Number two, I know people who have been nominated for Oscars. Okay, at a high level too, by the way. These aren't like random, like these are people, money people. Okay, and we know what, I've had conversations about this stuff about, oh yeah, like, okay, we've got a nomination, but damn, we gotta come up with X amount of dollars, and they're in the millions, to beat this movie and blah blah. Okay, take these people out to dinner to run these campaigns, blah blah. It's real money. So the idea that you can just win an Oscar without spending any money, sure. If you want to believe that, go ahead. Okay, nobody, nobody in this business is not spending money on promotion. In fact, promotion right now, and really the trend, if you look at it, going back, who knows, 20, 30 years now, but really promotion now is more than the cost of the actual movie. In fact, sometimes in multiples. Promotion is everything now, unfortunately, in my opinion, because what you're getting now is basically dreck, in my opinion, but well marketed direct. Okay. Anyway, so that's one side of it. The other side of it is I wonder if people at A24 are literally marketing the movie as there's no promotion behind this. You know what I mean? Like, because again, all these ideas, I've always said this, and this is because of the fact that I've, like, for example, I had a very interesting conversation sometime with someone who was very powerful at Live Nation, who came to our class. This is years ago. And he was like, look, there's no idea that gets put out on the internet about my clients, me, our company, and my clients that we didn't put out there. Okay? Like, we do our best to control narrative. Okay? So my point is that this idea of like no promotion or whatever probably comes from someone at A24 being like, and we're going to say that there's no promotion. The underdog shit. That's how we're going to win. And it worked. Listen, more power to you. All right. A couple of other thoughts here. You know, when I was watching the Oscars themselves, obviously, I have to say that my opinion of the movie didn't change. In fact, in a lot of ways, my opinion of Everything Everywhere All at Once soured even more. You can call it the hate in my heart or whatever, you know, but it's interesting because some of the things that people were saying, it was like, yeah, this is like, I couldn't quite, like, I sensed it, but it, like, they almost proved me right. So I'll give you a perfect example. Daniel, one of the Daniels, the white Daniel, okay, they're both kind of white, you know. I know that's a shot, but like, there's one that's, you know, there's what that's straight up white and the other one that's kind of like white leaning, but anyway, that's a shot. I know, whatever, but those who know. I've got to keep it 100. So, the white Daniel was like, bro, like, let's just throw my mom, you know, in the Matrix. Like, that's basically the genesis of this idea, right? It's white guy shit. It's dude bro movie, right? Again, this is why I didn't care for it, because I've seen these movies before. It's very actually pretty common. This, you know, white guy dude bro film. Like, bro, like, what if all cats wore overcoats and hoodies? Like, let's make that movie. And they'll find money because they're white males, right? And white males like to watch goofy shit like this. They can afford to, and it's cool, right? But it's the game. It is what it is. So to me, what I think is fascinating is that that's the genesis of the movie. I mean, that's what the dude said on Daniel S. said on stage. It's the genesis of his movie. Let me cast. What if my white mom was in the Matrix? Okay, it's a white guy thought. It's Rick and Morty shit, right? Again, it's like it's very common. What's new now, when you're making these kind of white guy movies, because it's kind of what you've seen before, anyways. Of course, is to cast diverse, right? Because you want to show that other people. It's not just a typical white guy movie. There's there's diversity, right? So I think it's interesting because the game now to me is obviously diversity in front, but of course behind the scenes it's all going to be very white. So the Russo brothers, others, A24, very very white, okay? But on front it's the Asians, okay? And so of course now it turns into a, you know, what started as a very white story, really, or the white guy dude bro vibe, is now some sort of goofy Asian pride narrative with some LGBTQ struggle thrown in, you know. All that shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, when in fact the genesis of the story was just some white guy shit. So, and since, you know, of course, marginalized actors, you know, are desperate for validation and looking for work and, you know, want to be in something and, hey, want to get that Oscar or whatever. And again, I'm not trying to play down Michelle Yeoh. I love Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh will always have my respect from Crouching Tiger and even before that. So, again, don't get me wrong. And I love Jamie Lee Curtis too, actually. These are people that are lovable people, by the way. I've never had an issue with, I mean, I don't know them. I never met them. But I'm saying, like, as a kid growing up watching their films, like, these are people that have real fan bases. You know what I'm saying? Michelle Yeoh has a real fan base. Jamie Lee Curtis was a badass chick. Like, she has a real fan base. So, of course, I would go to see the movie to, you know, support them necessarily. But, you know, they probably maybe weren't getting that much work or what. I don't know. Who knows? But the point is that obviously Michelle Yeoh is now getting her flowers when she probably should have gotten her flowers like 10, 20 years ago. Crouching Tiger alone is genius. Okay? So, anyway. But I just think it's interesting how, like, again, this is what the game is now. It's like, it's front-facing diversity, but behind the scenes, the key makers, the people putting it together, the inspiration for the ideas, the vibe of the whole story is all very white. Honestly, if we're being real here. Um, you know, on that dude bro topic, by the way, I do think it's interesting because, again, we've seen these movies before, right? Like, dude bro movies will always, like, I always think it's interesting because the marketing for these dude bro movies is always like, oh, we can't even believe this got made. It's such a wild idea. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like something like this would never get made, but they took a chance because they're daredevils and they made it, and now it's made money. And it's like, well, but you're a white male. Like, y'all have always made these goofy ass movies that don't really mean anything, or existential as fuck, or wacky as fuck, and come from a genesis of whatever. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you look at something like Cocaine Bear, right? I mean, that's a dude bro movie. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, dude bro, like, what if the cocaine, the bear ate the cocaine? You know what I'm saying? They've been making these movies forever, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, white male can come in and come up. Look at something like Cooties. Look up the log line for Cuties, by the way. Cooties. This came out in like 2014, I believe. Look that up. Some dude bro shit. A zombie outbreak begins because people eat chicken McNuggets. It's like, again, these movies get made. I don't know why people pretend, but every year there's always this marketing. Oh my God, look at how like unique it was that they got made. Sure. Again, it's that Rick and Morty vibe. It's a very stale, in my opinion, sort of sensibility, but it's an old sensibility, and it will probably stick around for quite a while longer. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is kind of what we have to expect. Big ups to A24. Do I think that this is the worst movie to ever win an Oscar? No, I don't know that. I'm sure there's worse movies. There might be, but it's probably one of the worst. But I couldn't tell you because the Oscars don't really mean much to me anyways. Now, you have to understand, I'm a genre guy, so, drama isn't necessarily like, the Oscars is really more about drama. So they don't really, give props to the kind of films that I would watch anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, look at The Matrix, my favorite movie ever. I mean, it won the effects and stuff like that, but was it even nominated for Best Picture? I don't even think it was. And there you go. That's like literally one of the best movies ever made. So that's my point. I love to watch the Oscars because I like to see people get recognition for what they've done. Don't get me wrong. And I do like the vibe of the Oscars overall, but I don't put much stock in it in terms of like it selecting quality, because I don't really think the Oscars respectfully have their pulse on what's really quality. I don't think they really. I think they get it more. They get it wrong more times than they get it right. There are times they've gotten it right, but in general, I think that it's kind of hit or miss, and very much more on the miss side of things. But what I think is fascinating is that you're seeing A24 now really taking over. This sort of independent cinema vibe, right? So A24, they're a powerhouse, man. And what I think is interesting, like I told you before when I was talking about everything, everywhere, all at once in my first interview, my first video, about how they're the same thing. The Marvel shit and the A24 shit, they're like two sides of the same goofy coin to me. You know what I'm saying? And everything, everywhere, all at once is literally that. It's like the Marvel shit plus the independent art house shit put, smashed together. And like I said, this is why, to me, a lot of these movies are formulaic. You see them coming a mile away. It's the identity politics stuff that is like not that, there's no real story there. There's no real inspiration. It's really just catering and pandering to whatever demographic they can. And so for me, I'm just not really into a lot of these films. But again, it's the same shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and now you're literally seeing those two things come together. Okay, the Russo brothers who helped produce this movie. Obviously, this is a very Marvel-esque, universe type of thing. Brought into the art house world. Ain't that some shit? So hey, man, maybe we're gonna get more of these. You know what I'm saying? Like, more luck to you. I hope if you all enjoy them and you're in for a good time. Everyone else, man, bunker down because you're getting a lot more trash. Or maybe this is the start of a new generation who say, man, enough is enough. We don't care about the fake accolades and the pandering and all that shit. We really have actual stories to tell. Because I'll tell you something. As a minority myself who writes screenplays, and I know other minorities, we don't want to see this like you know, secretly white stories that are like pushed as diverse stories. You know what I'm saying? The genesis of them is white, but the, you know, the surface in terms of like the, you know, the cover of it is some minority, whether it be black or Asian or whatever. We don't want to see that shit. Okay, we don't want to see the black version of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, we don't want to see that shit. Okay, like we like Avatar: The Last Airbender, but we want to see our own thing. Okay, the creatives I know who are really inspired, okay, who want to make stuff that you know, respects their culture and tell their stories. They're not trying to do the black version of something, okay, though, and you know, Latino version of some shit, you know, Latinx or whatever. They're not trying to do that. They're trying to do something else entirely. Okay, now they are inspired by the great films, of course, and they love films because great films transcend race, and they, you know, they speak to everybody, or everybody who can appreciate that type of film. So, but they're not trying to just copycat. You know what I'm saying? And right now, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting with a lot of the stuff that people are pushing as diversity and pushing up front, when really it's very white, and you can tell and sense how white it is from the inside. You can just be like, ah, that looks like one of the movies. You know what I mean? And people are gonna figure it out eventually, but it may take some time. Hopefully, we move past that. But maybe that's just in, you know, the first step in a long road towards minorities actually having the agency to make the films that really represent them, that are actually genuinely their culture, their story, their perspective. Anyway, if you enjoyed Everything Everywhere All at Once, like I said, it's to each his or her own. I personally thought it was trash. The fact that it won best original screenplay is hilarious to me, but again, at the same time, I don't think it really had any competition anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I saw most of the other films that are up for best original screenplay. It was a toss-up in the grand scheme of things. I don't think any of those screenplays were really... I didn't see anything in that list that I thought was like really some standout, like, oh my god, like, what a robbery. No. It just shows you again, like, it was all mediocre. There wasn't really anything that really challenged Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it had the hype, and so it rode the hype, and that's just what it is. But the fact of the matter is that it won. Cool. Like I said, I still think it's a very niche film, very existential film, as I've said before. Very wacky. If you're into that kind of wacky dude bro juvenile shit, you'll love this movie. Everyone else that's looking for something with actual substance that isn't, as like I said, cold. If you're looking for something with substance that's sincere in trying to tell a story or convey a message or a vibe, you're not gonna find it with Everything Everywhere All at Once. Okay, you're just not. The fights aren't that great, by the way. Let's be honest here. I'm a kung fu fanatic. The story, the world building is not, you know, consistent. So if you're a sci-fi person that likes consistent world building, you're not going to find it in Everything Ever All at Once either. Okay, it's goofy. It's Terry Gilliam shit. I said this before, but you know, it's very much in that vein. And if you like that, you'll love this movie. This might, in fact, be one of the best sort of wacky dude bro existential films in a couple of years. Maybe, sure. But everyone else that watches it is going to be like, what the fuck did I waste my time watching this shit for? That's just the truth of the matter, man. Anyway, peace and love, y'all. Hey.